I'm not claiming any special knowledge of these things because the feeling, you see, is quite different from the feeling induced by thoughts, you know. So uh, the, the sex has to be put in its proper place as one of the natural functionings of the body. And it is solely and wholly for the purpose of producing, reproducing, recreating something like this. It has no other place in the functioning of the body.
If one isn't interested in procreating, there is no function to sexuality?
No, there is no way you can go back now, because the thought always interferes with that. And so it has become a pleasure mood. I'm not saying anything against it.
Mm-hmm.
You see, I go to the extent of telling people, you see, if it is possible for you to have sex with your mother, you see, without any problem, psychological or spiritual problem, that will put an end to the sex. You see, the whole thing is built on your ideas. See, I'm not advocating incest as a way of life. For this, there is no such thing as incest at all. You know, it is the guilt problem, it is the psychological problem, it is the religious problem. If it is possible for a human being to have sex without a second thought, whether it is your sister, daughter, mother, without any regret, without anything, the sex is finished for you. It falls into its proper. I'm not suggesting that as a therapy. Please don't get me wrong. I'm not suggesting that. The other thing is,
But you mean without the build-up?
without the build-up,
Throw that away.
what I'm trying to say is it's just not possible to have sex with your wife or with your mother or with anybody.
So sex goes out the door?
Sex goes out of the door. And then what you are left with is the natural functioning of the sex glands. If it is not used, all this talk of these spiritual teachers talking about it grows into your, urdhva. Don't believe all that nonsense, Whether you are a saint or a god man, or a sinner, if it is not used, it goes out through your urine, or you may not have dreams, wet dreams, but still it goes.
The body is still the body and it still goes on functioning.
Yeah. There seems to be an abnormal functioning here. What do you call estrogen is in the case of, what is it? I'm not very familiar
Well,
with
these are the female hormones.
The female hormones. But as they say, that is for the first few days or weeks, the sex is not differentiated in the so somewhere along the line it is decided by
one becomes male.
One becomes male. So it goes back into that stage where it is neither male nor female. See, it is not an androgynous thing that they talk about. That's too silly.
It's more psychological.
It's more psychological. It's more psychological. So we have to revise all our ideas about this whole business of sex. You see, we give tremendous importance to sex. And so the denial became such an obsession with the people, you see, and then they moved away from that in India. They created this tantric sex. You see. That was the highest pleasure that the human beings could have. You see, the sex was the highest. That was the reason why they created, probably even in Brazil, I don't know, in some other countries, the coupling of male and female organs. You see, you have in India all that nonsense, temples. And then the bull, the temple for a bull, virility. They were admired and worshipped. So then it went to the other extreme. See, so sex indulgence became a spiritual pursuit for them, and they talked of achieving your spiritual goals, enlightenment through sex, and called it tantric sex. Whether it is tantric sex or ordinary sex, or you go and have sex with a prostitute there, it's all the same. You see.
But I can understand why people would be interested in sex as a means to attain so-called spirituality, because at the moment of intense sexual involvement and at the actual moment of orgasm, people have the feeling that they're not there anymore.
It's temporary.
It's just a flash of a second.
Not even flash of a second. You see, because it cannot be absent. You see, even there, the division cannot be absent because of this extreme. You see, even in great pain, you see, you are not there. You see. what happens if the body goes through unbearable pain and you become unconscious?
Yeah.
It is there that if the body has any chance of taking care of that pain, and then you see, or otherwise, what's the problem?
Then would we agree that at the moment of the orgasm, which is just a flash of a second,
The fact
that the person isn't there, that there's
the
no ego, there's no...
the person was very much there
before.
before, see, even at that, the peak sex experience moment, because that has already been captured by your memory. You see, otherwise you have no way of experiencing that peak moment. See, if that peak moment remained as a peak moment, that would be the end of sex. That would be the end of everything.
Well, you remember it as a peak moment, but you can't remember the actual feeling.
That is not important. The fact that you remember that as a peak moment and you want to repeat that over and over again implies that it has already become part of this experiencing structure.
And then it's the ego operating.
Yes. Then you see you want that always and then extend it longer and longer and longer. This is one of the most idiotic things to do. I read some time ago, long time ago, that they tortured a woman, you see, to have continuous orgasm for half an hour or 1 hour. But why go through that to torture? You see, well, what for? What do you prove that way? You see, that is also, you see, the fad of all these people, to make that last longer. It is just a fraction, you see, of a second, whether it is in the female or the male. It really, I don't know, you are a therapist, probably you know a lot more than I do, but I think that there is really no basis for that kind of a thing to extend the orgasm longer and longer and longer. And that becomes an obsession with these women. If they don't have, so their sex acts become very futile.
And it becomes like an addiction as well.
It's like any other addiction, See, these I observed myself, I did not learn these things from anybody, but in my own life, you see. And I told my wife, this is something, it doesn't matter, you see, I always talk of these things. Every time my wife talked of love and this, that, and other nonsense, what is it? Is the basis of a relationship? Sex, you see. I denied sex for myself 25 years, pursuing all these things, and then suddenly realized, look, it is ridiculous. Celibacy has nothing to do with it. I have these wet dreams, the sex is burning inside of me. And why the hell am I denying myself? Why the hell am I torturing myself? So I asked my teacher, are you sure that you don't have wet dreams? And any time he blushed and he didn't have the courage to give me the...
Could he still be your teacher after that?
No, I rejected. You see, that as a prerequisite or a necessary thing for... That did not mean that I moved to the other extreme and practiced promiscuity as my way of life. I was surrounded by the most beautiful girls from Holland, from America, everywhere. They were all stuck there. I didn't even have to ask for them. But then you see, I said, this is not the way to understand the problem of sex. And so this was the only relationship I had. She understood, but yet you see the idea of love, this, that, and the other, and build up and all that kind of a thing. And she always asked me, see, you are surrounded by most beautiful women here. You are a very handsome man by our definition. And why don't you have sex? Do you have a guilt problem or loyalty? Or why? She asked me always. You see, you are ready to talk in this train. Actually, if there is an act of infidelity, then the word on my part, the whole thing will change, I told her. I warned her. Don't talk of all this nonsense. It's a conversation piece, it is fine. It is not because of the moral problem or ethical problem or any such thing. But I wanted to find out, you see, I am actually using her for my pleasure. You see.
And you could be frank about that?
We always discuss this.
There's no love involved here?
No, she was the finest woman I had. We lasted 21 years. Exceptional.
Most people would be offended if you say, I'm just interested in sex.
And she also realized that's all. But the only problem we had was children. She wanted more children because of her genes, both on my father's side and mother's side, a lot of children. And she was the 21st pregnancy of her mother. You see,
21st.
Yes, my wife.
Mm.
And so you see, that was a genetic problem, wanting more children, you see, and all that kind of a thing. That was the real problem between us. You see, we even went to see Mary Stopes in London. You may have heard of her. Yeah.
To sort it out.
To find out. And also she was against, birth control things and all that kind of thing. She tried all kinds of things. And she was telling me that by nursing the child for a longer time, the pregnancy would be delayed. So all kinds of strange ideas. But she was not ready to go to a doctor to finish with the abortion for some reason or the other. But somewhere along the line, she had to have an abortion because we didn't want to have lots of children.
Yeah.
But apart from that, and I did have one, what is it, midnight stand?
One night stand.
One night stand. Not, I was telling yesterday, it was not a cheap call girl or a prostitute or any such thing, one of the richest women. And that finished. No more sex after that. You will be surprised. That
was still during the relationship with your wife?
Yes.
And that finished
it
it off?
just so happened to me. See, that I happened to be in this woman's place, and then I don't want to go into all the sordid details. But anyway, that's not important. That was 33 years ago. 33 years ago. Finished.
And that was it?
That was the end of sex for me, you see. So I am using that woman, you see, for my own pleasure. So it was not an ethical problem, or it hit me so hard that I used that woman. She may be a willing victim, willing partner in this whole game, but I cannot do that anymore. See? So that was the end of it. And it created a problem for her also, in the sense, not that she revolted or any such thing. I denied sex to her also.
She felt rejected.
She was rejected, you see, and yet she felt guilty for pushing me to, she did not push me to that situation. But you see, finished. But that did not finish the sex at all, in the sense that there is a natural rhythm, you see, even in men. It's like I was able to study, there is a peak there, and for months and months and months, you don't even know, you see, that...
and it has to do with hormones as well?
Yes, hormone, like the woman, you see, there is a period, you see, like that. And it is impossible for, you see, woman and man to have this same thing at the same time. We are programmed differently. Yes, if that could be synthesized, that would be a marvelous thing. Yeah, but there is no way you can do that at all. So but it did, until this, whatever happened to me, it continued, but with the powerful drive, you see, was still there. And I knew that the semen would go through, the urine or some such thing. But it didn't bother me, because I was determined to find out and solve this problem, you see, for myself. I did not go to a therapist. I never believed in any therapist or any such thing, you see. So it resolved off and by itself that it's not really a burning problem. It should not be, blown up into out of proportions. It has a place, a very simple functioning of the body. That's all. Its interest is only to create. And so like that, I discovered these things by myself. I give you another. We were about to make love, and my 2-year-old girl cried. And we had to break up, and you can't imagine what violent feelings I had at that time. So I just wanted to strangle that child. Strangle that child. I did not actually, I would have done that. That was the frame of mind. And suddenly I said to myself, that's blood of your own blood. To use an idiotic phrase, bone of your own child. And how can you have such thoughts? You see, so something wrong here. You see, you are not a spiritual man. You are not what you think that you are and what people think you are.